Hey everyone, today I'm actually going to be showing you a really simple uh, composting bin that I'm making for my sister-in-law. I had this idea pop into my head a few weeks back, and I'm super happy that now I can finally test it out. She asked me to help her because her husband hasn't had enough time to build one for her yet. So I am going to hurry and quickly throw one out. The wood that I'm going to be using, I've gathered from a fencing company. It's these crates that they use to kind of bundle up all the fencing together, and they just said, hey, anyone that comes, come and get them. I'm kind of needing to go back there now and see what they got, because I've been using a lot of this wood lately for a couple of other projects. But I'll get into this one, and I'm hoping I can make it in just a couple of hours. So first off, I'm not sure if you guys remember this one that I made. This is to hold the stuff that I have sifted. I made this one out of the same material I'm going to make the one for my sister-in-law. They put the fencing through here, and they have usually 3 of these on 20 or 40 foot sections of fencing. So when they're done with them, it's kind of just like trash to them, but they put out a Facebook post, if you come get them, you can use them. I built this bin that pops up frequently in some of my videos, and I have an Instructable on, out of the same material. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid using these for the corner posts, and I'm actually just going to be using the boards that they come with for the side posts that come up to hold everything together. I am still going to put this option in right here because I think this is super handy to have. Though if I had kids, I'd probably leave the front off a lot more just to make it easier to mix everything up. They just like to play in it a lot and end up scattered everywhere. So I've already collected the boards, and I'll show that pile in a second. So these are the boards that I set aside for this compost bin. Each board is about 45.5 to 46 inches long. There's 21 of them, and so I'm going to do 7 boards up one side, up all 3 sides, and then I'll find some more. It usually takes 8 after that, and they're going to be spaced an inch and a half apart. This is just to allow air to go through, and I just use the board themselves as spacers to have this happen. So what I'm going to do is start on a side and show you how I do it, and then we'll come back with a little bit of explanation. One of the things that I needed to figure out, or wanted to figure out, is how far of a spacing would I need between. This is going to be my main riser coming up. I'm going to build 2 sides like this and then have the cross boards, but I need the space in the front in order to eventually fit boards in that would fit side by side. So I actually found a scrap piece of wood that when I laid it down here, I said, oh, okay, that will be the perfect gap, because I am going to need some more play than what I put there. That's just to show that it's going to work great for that gap. What this will allow is I'll then put a probably board like this, maybe this exact one on the front here, and this will allow for boards to be able to fit in between on the front. So this is going to be the left side that I'm working on right now, and then I got to do this for the right side, but mirrored, to make sure that I do it correctly. But I'm just going to use this board to help me make sure that the gap is there. And then back here, for how I'm doing this, is I want this gap right here, so the back side, its boards will line up right here with these 2 and go and flush. So for each of the sides in the back, I'm going to have this 1.5 inch gap, and I'm just using this to help me space it out. So I'm going to go grab my square to make sure that these boards are semi-square, and I'm going to start right here at the bottom and space them out every 1.5 inches, or the thickness of this board, and just drill and screw these side pieces down all the way up. So here I have my square. I can see that that one's squared up. It's flush right down here. I do care about flush on the bottom, so any part that I consider my bottom is going to be flush. So with that one squared off, I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill the 4 holes for the deck screws that I'm going to be using. I like to pre-drill it because I have had more luck without it splitting the wood by pre-drilling than just by sinking the screws directly in. And this wood, as I said, it sometimes gets out really weathered. It's usually pretty warped. I like to give it everything that I can to try to survive. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill those holes and screw this board down, and then I'll show how I'm going to set the gap for the next ones coming up. So I realized that since I don't want to cut these sideboards down, and they vary in length from 45 inches to 46, I'm actually, the best thing for me to do, sorry, that's my daughter shaking the screws. Okay, as I was saying before my daughter started trying to tackle me, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the two left and right sides flush with the back. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this out, not that direction, and then on the back I'm going to make sure that both the sides are spaced 3 inches, and then that will allow the risers to fit in between to have enough space to fit on the other side of this board. And that's just because I don't want to take the time to cut all these down to the same length. I just know that I need to make sure that they're within 45 inches for them all to work fine. I'm trying to do this lazy and simple, easy, and that's just one way to do it to avoid cutting. So this is one side done. I also had a realization while I was doing this. I was putting 4 screws in each board on each side, and I realized I didn't really need that. That was over screwing. So I went down to 2 screws on each side. I also switched to construction screws because they're cheaper, and I realized that where this is going to be, the wood's most likely going to rot out before the screws do, especially since the wood's not treated. So I'm not too concerned about it rotting out. But the only spots where I really need 4 screws are down here at the bottom and right up here at the top, and that will just keep it from trying to twist and turn and to keep it square. So now I'm going to go make one more like this, and then I will make what I'm planning for the back side. So that took me about 15 minutes maybe to drill and screw all those boards. So I'm going to hop to the next one and take it from there. So to make sure that I'm mirroring it properly, all I need to do is start by making sure that the opposite side of where I made sure was square and flush before is square and flush, and so that's what I'm doing right now. My square right there, good enough, and good enough. Maybe we can make it a little bit better, but then this will just fold up. The other thing that I'm doing to help mark my bottoms is make sure only the bottom board is turned up this way. That way I know that that's the bottom, that's the part that's meant to go flush against the ground, and then these will point in the right directions. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this one on. So this is the right hand side now completed. So now I'm going to go and do the back. One thing I wanted to show, to keep my gaps, I've just been dropping that small 1x right in there, and that will be perfectly gapped to allow enough air to get through and allow this to heat up. So I'm gonna now get everything laid out to how I have in my mind to do the gap and for the back side, and we'll go to that. So to lay out the back, I used this 3-inch piece of just some scrap that I had laying around in this 3-inch piece, and it's allowing me to kick these in 3 inches on each side. Now, my goal for this to be kicked in is so that over here on these pieces, we'll be able to fit, well, let me make sure I don't juggle my camera up, this whole piece on that opposite side of where the risers will go. So now I'll try to put the risers so they match each one of these. That allows me to screw not only into here, but into here as well. And that should give it quite a bit of stability to hold it all together. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw the rest of those on, and then I will do a drive stuff of how this whole thing will look together. So right here's the slot where the front boards can slide in if she so desires to put on front boards. I put front boards on mine to keep my kids from playing in it. I wouldn't be too worried about them playing in it, other than I think they would pull it out and drag it out everywhere. Also, sometimes there can be some pretty rotten things that I just barely added, and I'd rather they not smell like it. But the whole idea is the board will be able to come in. I'm gonna grab one of these as a demonstrator and be like that between all of those slats going on up. But I don't have enough wood to give her front rails just yet, so they'll either have to cut their own or build their own in. It's there if they want it. So this is the dry stuff of the compost bin. I'm gonna come in here and show more details how I was trying to explain that. So right here is where they're gonna come together, and they'll be able to tie screws, hopefully in right along this part. I wasn't so good making sure all of them were stuffed out that way, and these ones are a little bit long, so I could have done a little bit more due diligence to make sure that they were lining up better, but nonetheless it's gonna work, because they can come back in and even put some screws when this is pulled in together through those little cracks right there. I'm just using that string to tie it on together. But now I kind of wish I didn't make it so tall. I'm half tempted to cut it down one layer, because really for a good compost bin all you need is an area of 36 by 36, and this is going to end up being way bigger than that. But it will still work. I'll be able to hold quite a bit. So I got a kid that's eager to go do something fun, so I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to call this a completed video. Thank you for watching. I hope this is you find this interesting, and maybe it's a project you want to do on your own. Once again, all the wood I collected for free from using those crates that they use for fencing. I also found out they use it for conduit as well. So you could look at electrical supply places that sell a lot of conduit. They might have some of this stuff if you're looking to build your own. I mean, just scavenge around. You could kind of do the same. You can actually do the same thing with pallets if you wanted to. I just really like these boards because I think they're going to hold up a little bit better over time. But pallets are free as well. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and share if you like what I'm doing.